Smokers Daily. Come and get your daily fix. Words that's inspiring, creating more that's gifted. The energy has shifted. I'm changing the momentum. My people gon' feel me. Smokers Daily. Come and get your daily fix. Words that's inspiring, creating more that's gifted. The energy has shifted. I'm changing the momentum. My people gon' feel me. Smokers Daily. Come and get your daily fix. Words that's inspiring, creating more that's...
Right. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, A1 Reek, and this is the second episode of the Smokers Daily Podcast. Here I'm about to go ahead and interview my man Vito, which I know a lot of people in gun rappers know him because he's a phenomenal artist, and on top of that, he makes beats. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody has, at some point in time, if you're a creative, bumped into him. And where we're at, I mentioned on the first episode that from the lecture, we will be going to what's called recess. Well, we end up, sometimes you can go to the gym, you might go outside, right. But, we ended up in the art studio.
Shooting jumpers, baby.
Yup. This is a very creative space, too. It's like, one of those places where you go to and you're just instantly brought to life. And it's like today what we wanted to talk about with the whole concept of life would be modern day creatives. And like, what does it kind of like look like? So I wanted to interview, Vito, so that way we can go ahead and dig deep into that concept of what it looks like. So, Vito, for you, like, what does depression and anxiety look like for you as a modern day creative?
Well, anxiety and depression, that's the first question. Dang, let me speak the lesson. Break it on down with a blessing. No, I'm not going to freestyle my answer, but anxiety and depression, wow. I think anxiety and depression is kind of a modern concept in itself. I think, that emotional space has been brought on by modernism or the Industrial Revolution. That got people into a mental state of actually being depressed or anxious. Like, you have to ask your question, if it's anxiety, being a form of the word anxious, what are you anxious about?
True.
Are you anxious about death? That's usually the highest anxiety is the fear of death, fear of dying. And I think like ancient societies had kind of worked their way around that. So that wasn't a day-to-day thought, like when you're gonna die, how you're gonna die. I think certain societies have found solutions for that train of thought. So they didn't have to even really deal with that anxiousness. Yeah. But in the modern times, how do I deal with it? It's pretty much just busy work, and I'm not sure that's the best coping mechanism, but I just stay busy. I just keep creating beats, art. That's it. I just create a lot of beats and a lot of art on a daily basis.
I can attest to that whole concept of, creating, because right now, as a creative myself, it's like when I allow myself to be drowned in my work, that's when I'm experiencing like a shift, like a transformation within self. Because, upon realizing, who you are, you kind of tap into self and see, self, what are you good at? And then through that, you shed your light and people can see the passion in your work. That's what makes it so good. That's why people are willing to say, I'll pay for that because somebody done put their blood, sweat, tears into their creativity.
For sure. That's what people buy. As an artist who has been actively pursuing the art marketplace, I've always been trying to sell work. So I have a good gauge, or I've collected a lot of data on what makes art sell. Of all my pieces I've done, why is this piece popular? Or why do I keep selling prints of this particular image? Or why did that original sell? And it goes to that point you just made about like people want to see that, they want to see some anxiety in your work, or some pain, or some struggle, or some depression. They really want to see, for the most part, like there's some artists who have been able to just do the whole beauty thing, like Ellsworth Kelly. He did like these little line drawings of a flower where he just looked at a flower and did this little contour drawing of a flower in real time, and that was the art, which is just beautiful. But I'm sure it has some emotional content too. But that's the opposite of what I'm talking about. People want to see like struggle in a drawing.
Yeah.
They want to see where you messed up. Why did you smear that line out? Why did you think that eye was off?
Mm-hmm.
Should the nose have been wider, smaller, more shadow? You know, and if you can capture that in a piece of work, people are more likely to connect with it and want to buy it, as opposed to something that just falls off your wrist like, oh, that shit is beautiful. People don't really go for that as much. You know, people want that grind. They want to buy that. They want to buy your grind. They want to be able to look at your griminess.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because, you know, when you think about duality, and, you know, there's dual meanings in everything that transpires in life, like, you kind of think about that in an artistic manner, like the way you view it. Because the more in depth you are with the art, you know, the greater your perspective is on individual situations. That's like you using your own brush and stroking, you know, the outcome, creating that, you know, scenario per se.
Yeah, I didn't quite get what you're saying, but elaborate.
Okay, so basically, let's look at, you know, a situation of struggling financially.
Okay.
You know, we look at that concept of struggling financially, you know, the situation is already depicted based on what's going on. Okay, we're struggling. Okay, but if we look deeper at the situation and pick out the reasons why we're in that situation, now we're in some way creating a game plan, just like an artist. Okay, what is going to inspire me with this portrait? You know, you're going through that phase. And then as you go through the situation, you know, you're picking out your colors. You know, how do I want to paint the situation out so that way I can create some art, something that people would feel and want to embrace. Okay, so obviously the outcome you want to embrace there, you know, it's going to be something good. Okay, there might be anxiety in your movements while you're going through it, because it's like, that's everybody on a day-to-day basis. You're facing some level of uncertainty. Uncertainty brings out the anxiety in you. So it's like, as you're painting, just like with the portrait, you know, you're going through the phases. You might take a break, come back to it. But at the end of the day, those continual steps of stroking that brush is what gets the final picture.
Yeah, for sure.
Same thing with your situation. Those continued steps of saying, okay, I got a plan, you know, despite what's going on, I'm going to work through it. Now you got your final picture.
Yeah, and to the point, that's what people are more likely to connect with and purchase, which in the end, you know, it's just about sales.
Yeah.
Bottom line for an artist. I mean, there's some great living on the farm artists. This is got a barn, they can paint it every day, doing dope ass paintings. But they're not even trying to be in the game of making money with art. I'm talking about people who are trying to make money. Selling art. And in order to do that, to get like a de Kooning or a Rothko, and I'm naming mostly like Euro-based artists, because they figured out the game. With some help, of course, with some government assistance.
Of course.
They were able to figure out the whole game of selling grimy ass emotional art. And that's, for the modern construct, that's what we're still in. You want to be able to sell some emotionally honest, grimy ass art to other people. Because you're always going to have that until you reach some moment of enlightenment or by your own island. You're always going to have that grind to draw from. So if you can make that grind marketable, then you have a career in art. You have a lifetime career in art. Because you're like, no matter how old you get, like Picasso, old as shit. No matter how old he was, he can still script Matisse, sitting in his bed on his back, couldn't even get up, with a stick. They gave his ass a stick with a crayon at the end of the stick. And he was just like painting the ceiling, or he had canvases set up, and he did a bunch of paintings like that. Like straight on the back in the bed. So he was able to take his grind all the way to the grave, you know what I mean? And those paintings are worth millions. Some of them are like,
that's crazy.
But yeah, so you know, once that you get that cycle going, then you chill, man. That's the chill form.
Yeah.
Because every show is just more of that grind. And it can go anywhere. It can go minimalist. You can be sick of this shit. Like, I don't want to do shit no more. You just be like, I want to do a square in the middle of the canvas. And then put an X to it. And throw that shit up. And people be like, oh, he has some grimy shit now. He has some minimalist grimy shit now.
Yeah.
They'll justify anything you do from that point on.
Yeah.
As opposed to like an illustrator. Someone who's really trying to draw some shit. Like if I'm trying to illustrate your shoe with this laptop, black and white, I'm trying to capture that whole distance and the composition and the perspective. People may or may not get it.
Yeah.
They might be like, yeah, that mother can draw, man, he dope, I'll buy it. Which is cool, because then you have a payment lifeline too. But for the most part, that's a tough haul. Realism. You know, just straight realism. I can draw, I can look at you, make it look like you, in a few strokes, bing, that's a bomb stilo. But not as marketable. That's just some grimy shit done over and over again, and growing with your grind. As your grind increases or decreases, you make art based on that. Yeah.
And that is an interesting concept, because when you look at the typical artist, you know, that's why people initially gravitated, you know, to them, is because of that raunchiness.
Yeah.
You know, at the beginning of their career, because that's when they got that dog in them.
Yeah.
You know, that's when you're hungry. But it's like once you get to a point of elevating, then you kind of, you know, you get kind of stagnant, because it's like you don't reach this plateau, and it's like that's a quick high. You know, they say that, you know, if you get to somewhere fast, you really can't withstand it, because you ain't had enough time to build. You got there so fast, you high. You know, you don't reach that high quick. It's like, but if you had to work your way up, you can withstand each level to be able to, you know, take a quick blow, you know?
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. This is where I'm at, you know. There's probably some other angles, but I, when it comes to just the immediacy of painting or making art, you have to get right into it. You know, just like your natural tendencies, that's what people want. They don't want you trying to refine shit or figure it out, like, oh, why do I always make the neck too long? You know, that might be your thing, based on some childhood shit, or just based on the magazines you looked at when you were a kid. So now that you're drawing, you just tend to make an elongated neck or longer limbs. That's the steez people want.
You know, and it's interesting, because you do have different art like that, where it's like, you know, you might have a regular portrait, or, you know, something that you might kind of expect, in a sense, like maybe a scene, you know, something.
Ernie Barnes.
Yeah.
He's a perfect example. The guy who did the Good Times, he did some art for Good Times, the show Good Times, and he did Marvin Gaye's I Want You album cover.
Okay.
Where it's a bunch of people like in this kind of juke joint dancing. But they all have these elongated bodies, like extra long arm muscles, like exaggerated dance stuff, everything. The whole vibe is just like this real elongated. That was the way he saw human bodies. And now that painting is, I would say, is the most valuable painting of all paintings. To me, it's in my number one. If I could just own any painting, you know, the Mona Lisa, I guess. I've never seen it live, but I assume it's dope. When you see it in person, extra dope.
Probably the energy you feel on it too.
Yeah, well, all the people have seen it, the history of it. I'm sure I would like to own Mona Lisa. But that I Want You album, I don't know what the title of the painting is, and I heard Eddie Murphy owns it. I don't know if that's true, that might just be some internet shit. But I heard Eddie Murphy actually purchased it way back in the day. I just bought it maybe directly from him for like $150,000. Which at that time would have been considered, you know, in the 80s or 90s, a ton of money to pay for a painting.
Definitely.
But he just, from this internet rumor, he just held on to it all these years. But as a piece of art, you know what I mean, to the point of like his natural tendencies of elongated figures turn into be millions, a priceless piece of art. So to be able to capture that is the thing, and it's the easiest thing to do, is to capture your natural tendencies, your natural instincts, the way you see the world. But artists fight against it. I fought against it. I'll project some shit like Rockwell, or I'll try to, refine some shit, where in actuality people do not want that. And that's what's been proven through my sales. I put a bunch of work out for a show, and people get the stuff that I was like, oh man, really? I struggled with that. I was like off like a mug, You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
I saw this jazz illustration. It's Coltrane and Ellington, and I did it on an envelope in my mom's basement way back in the day. I just sketched on a little envelope, like a bill. I got a bill in the mail, and while I was looking at the bill, I was looking at an album cover of Coltrane and Duke Ellington. And I did this little doodle, almost like a doodle or sketch. But man, people love that thing, man. And it looks like Ellington, it looks like Coltrane, but it don't really look like, it ain't like a photographic accuracy of but it has their character. It looked kind of like their vibe. Like Ellington's looking over, or Coltrane's looking over Ellington's shoulder, he's at the piano. And I kind of captured more like a caricature or a cartoon of them. But man, it's like one of my most popular images. And I've had paintings that I've like layered and blew up and formatted and did all kind of stuff, and people like, it ain't sold. I just bunch of them still here, it ain't sold. You know what I mean?
But the thing about it is though, with that, it's the rawness in the process.
Yeah.
And when you use an envelope, you gotta look at look at it from a very detailed sense. That's what made it so raw. We took something that was so, it's an envelope, it was a bill in there. Whether or not you like what was in the envelope doesn't even matter at that point. It was the fact that it came from a situation.
Yeah.
And they absorbed the situation. So when you mentioned about the struggle concept, it's like, that could have been something I didn't want to see, honestly.
Yeah.
But out of the situation, I'm so engulfed in the feeling of being passionate, I was able to create art.
Okay, exactly. And one layer even below that is the fact that it being an envelope, you consciously don't think of it as a high level thing to draw.
Yeah.
So whereas you buy a $12 piece of watercolor paper, before you even touch it, you like, oh, let me roll it up, let me unroll it, wait, don't let the dog step on it. You're doing all kinds of stuff. But an envelope, there's an immediacy to your emotion that's like, whatever, man, it's an envelope. So maybe that has something to do with it too.
Yes.
Which is a point.
It's dual meanings.
Yeah.
It's like the idea of, one man's trash, another man's treasure. You could have simply did that like in a restaurant, do a quick picture, throw it out, someone find it, they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because it might be a collector's item. That technically it could be part of a collection.
Yeah.
Which that would be a unique piece, because it's like, this is part of struggle.
And I did that, and I had a gallery in Saugatuck a few years ago, and me and my nephew, we would go out to these little restaurants in Saugatuck, one in particular, but a few of them, and they'd always have like either napkins or usually a menu just sitting on the table, and I would flip it over and just do something off the cuff, like either the coffee cup that was on the table, or maybe the person working there, or just something out of a magazine. A couple of them had magazine racks where you could look at a magazine while you were waiting for your food, and I'd open the magazine, do a little sketch, but then I would just leave them joints. After we ate and paid our bill, I'd sign them and I would just leave them.
That's very unique.
So I wonder, and I did a few of them, probably 15 of them out there. And some of them were dope. A couple of them were hard to leave. But, on principle, I was like, I'm gonna leave them no matter what, however they turn out. Cause I'm just waiting for my food. I'm just here sketching. But I left some dope joints that somebody probably picked up. Someone probably got the trash. The waitress might be like, man, I guess this shit, and just threw it in the trash. But some of them probably went in somebody's crib,
You know what's crazy? I really feel like someone engaging in art and really saying, hey, I'm gonna take this and keep it as a keepsake, is someone who's vibrating high, having a good day. Because if you're having a good day, you enjoy every aspect of your day. You might be like, dang, somebody drew this? I wonder who it was.
Right.
You might even try to be like, hold on, did they just...
And you could figure it out if you really wanted to. And that goes into like how people's antennas. Like, what frequency are you really on? If I found a dope ass piece of art in abandoned in a restaurant, I'd figure it out. Like, who's doing this type of shit? I was the only brother with a gallery out there, so that had to be a clue. Sorta, you know. And then we were kind of known for going to these restaurants, me and my nephew, because we were the only brothers in town. So they're like, oh, you know, it's the brothers. You know what I mean? They come and eating at our place today, because we were there for a couple of summers back to back. So we got to know the locals, you know, people who own the restaurants. So a person can actually figure out who drew it and then what they call provenance, which is the history behind a piece of art. They can find the provenance by just doing a little research, like asking the people that own the place, like, well, I found this piece of art. Oh yeah, this is a black guy and his nephew. They come here all the time, you sketches, you know what I mean? They can figure it out. So, yeah.
And that's dope, because it's like, it's almost like you left a business card in a sense. You're leaving your mark, which I feel like brings us into the next one, where if we kind of look at it, okay, we kind of got an understanding of, you know, what depression and anxiety can look like for a modern day creative. But it's like, right now, with being a modern day creative, what mental space are you in currently? Because, you know, I know even for myself, on a day-to-day basis, it fluctuates based on, you know, what life is bringing you. Because you got to, it's like, we can almost look at the things in life as a current. And it's like, as we, you know, go through life's current, you know, we're trying to, you know, struggle through it. Because, you know, it's obviously pushing with force. So we got to become strong to be able to withstand the current and still go forward.
Yeah.
And that's even with the sense of doing art. Like, you got to withstand life's current while still being in the passion mode.
Yeah.
That's where you talk about that depression and anxiety. Because
it's like such a personal question. If you ask somebody, like, what was it? What emotional state are you in right now?
What mental space?
Mental space are you in? I mean, that's probably the most personal question you can ask a person. Really. If you just at a bar, sit next to a person y'all was having a drink together, and they just turn like, what mental state are you in right now? You'd have to really,
you know what?
That's like a serious, you got to do like a serious self-check. Like, what? You know what? I don't want to punch you in your face, man, because you look weird. You know what I mean? It might be like that. Like, you kind of weirding me out. You seem kind of goofy. I kind of want to punch you in your face. You might fall down, or you might be, dude, we should be buddies, man. You should come on.
But it's like,
you know, so that's it's a question that's so,
it breaks the ice.
It's such a loaded question.
It is. You know what? Now that I think about it, because I'm one of those people, I do that. Like, I go ask those very deep questions just because it's like, life is a ongoing mystery. You're trying to figure this shit out.
Right.
And it's like at each level, it's like, it's always something new. But some people don't level up. They like that complacency, that stagnant energy. And it's like, once you get comfortable with that, you notice life is a repeating cycle of what is going on. I feel like at some point you should know your what. Okay. And be moving towards it. Like what you're doing as a creative, modern day creative. Yeah. You're moving towards something because you're giving people something they need. Supply, demand. Yeah. People demand, I need this because my day is going, well, they probably got something from Vito's art. They look at that portrait every day and get inspired. I tell people all the time, every time I come into this place of art, your frequency gonna change. Like, it's gonna raise your vibrations. Because you can feel the energy in every portrait, like it's just coming onto you. Because you can kind of like feel where you were at in different moments, which is powerful.
That's definitely what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
You know, so in my current mental state, like to keep that vibration strong for my personal input into this state of being, this planet right now. You know, that I feel like that's other than just some evangelical Christian stuff.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's very personal, you know, what was the word? Not prophesizing is another word. It has to do with speaking out on those type of spiritual beliefs. That's, you know, that's number one. But as far as my daily freaking movements of creativity, that vibration off the canvas is what I want to do. Okay. And it plays into what we were talking about before as far as the immediacy, your tendencies, your instincts. So yeah, as far as it goes into my mental state, that's moving forward, you know, because it's a daily operation.
Okay.
You try. Sometimes you don't do nothing just to make sure that you don't overdo it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do anything, but you probably shouldn't do that. You should probably just do the shit, because then you're gonna get the rawest. Like, man, I don't even feel like painting nothing. Period. F for painting. You should do it then, because then you're gonna get like some real. You might just take a black piece of chalk and just be like, and then you go. But so I'm kind of in between those two spaces. I don't work when I'm frustrated that much. I don't work when I don't want to work that much.
I'm that same way, because it's like with even doing this whole process of media producer, podcasting. It's like you got to get out there and learn stuff. You got, because you're talking about different topics, so you have to at some point educate yourself in some capacity on things regarding self-help, things regarding maybe finances, things regarding pieces of history. Update yourself on what's currently going on, what's the hot topics are,
and reading.
Talked about exactly.
And reading, like,
very big.
I had stepped off of reading for a minute, man. Like, I hadn't read shit. I mean, I read the Bible. I did my Bible study, but I hadn't really read any other books for a while. I did an audiobook. I did Will Smith's audiobook before he slapped Chris Rock. But it was before that, just for a point of reference. I had heard the book was good, so I listened to that. So it was kind of like reading a book, but it was his voice doing the whole thing, so that was different. It was one of the first audiobooks that I listened to all the way through. But I hadn't actually just opened up a book and just the physical feeling of flipping the pages, forgetting where you left off at, remembering to grab something for a bookmark, all that, and then being drawn back to it. Like after you eat, like, man, I gotta get back. Where was I at on that chapter? Like, what was about to happen? And then go back into it and pick up where you left off. Like, that's a physical human experience that no other living thing can do. Only humans can read.
True. And acquire another point of view. So
exactly, to acquire another experience.
That's crazy.
So just like taking time out to read has been important. I've been doing more reading than I've been doing art lately.
That's good. That's a good combination, honestly.
Yeah, I've been reading.
What books are you currently reading?
The one I'm mostly into right now is Dilla Time.
Say it again.
Dilla Time. J Dilla.
Okay. I remember you told me about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody knows J Dilla, the producer from Detroit, passed away at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
But this dude wrote a whole book on his methodology and his biography. So it's a combination of J Dilla's upbringing. Even before that, it's a historical document of the history of Detroit to a certain degree, and the history of electronic music, and the history of the drum machine. He goes through a lot of like historical stuff, and then it all leads up into this history of this guy J Dilla, this James Yancey from Detroit, who became this super producer, incredible experimental hip hop producer. And I'm not that far into it. I'm maybe a quarter of the way through.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very, very gripping book. Like, makes you want to read it. Got me want to read it. So that's been feeling good. Just reading has been feeling good, because it takes you out of all the other zones. It's like you have to sit down. You can't really watch TV while you read. That's very difficult. You can try. Like, I'm gonna have a show on and read.
Me, honestly, I'm gonna tell you where I'm at with TV. I don't even watch it. Like, if I happen to socialize, and that's where we interact at in that capacity, cool, that's what we'll do. But it's like, other than that, like you said, I'm reading, I'm studying, I'm doing something to where I'm working my brain. Like that, I really put that as at the forefront of my day. Like, despite how it's going, I'm going to learn something, even if that means that I'm doing it in the form of journaling, like just through self-reflection.
That's cool.
Because you can learn there. And then maybe even set yourself up for success for the next day by saying, okay, I'm gonna make a plan of action based on my reflections. I was able to at least get 5 things that went good. Let's say if I get another 5, because then that gives me a chance to take just them little steps. The 5 good things that happen in my day, that gives me a chance to say, it might not have been the best day, but I'm gonna take a little step. Instead of just stopping, I'm gonna take a little step. Because the moment we stop.
And you think not having television helps with that?
I mean, I watch it from time to time, but I don't make it a necessity. Like, it's not something that's planned. Like, in my day, I don't plan, okay, I'm about to sit and watch TV at some point.
This or that.
Like, it just happens on every blue moon.
Okay.
So I feel like, I guess in a sense, you might as well say, like, in terms of millennials, our phones are the TVs.
Yeah.
I mean, I do time on my phone, but that's in a sense more so for like marketing.
You're right.
Because like I try to, like I want to say, before I even got into this whole process of, you know, wanting to do podcasting, like, you know, I had literally taken time to just not be on social media. Like I kind of just unplugged in a sense, because that helped me be able to tap into myself, because now I'm no longer projecting myself on this screen and, you know, looking at my life as, you know, hey, maybe it should be like this. Because the moment you start to judge yourself, you know, everything that you're doing, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Because you're not even tapped into self to really express yourself in your art form. You are worried about everyone else's projections on your portrait.
Well, I'm just trying to see it in a concrete way as it relates to television, because I went a few years with no television. And I just, in the last maybe 3 years, someone gifted me a television. They're like, oh, I'm gonna get you a TV. And they literally had it sent to me. And then I plugged it in, and I hooked it into my wire. You know, you don't get channels anymore. You have to like hook into some Wi-Fi and go through the whole thing. It's smart TV, you know, download your apps, or download your channels. And I did the whole thing. I'm like, dang, I'm watching TV again, you know? And now it's like part of my day, like TV. I get up, put on the Today Show, whatever. But I'm starting to forget what it was like when I didn't have a television. And I enjoyed not having a television. I really did. I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, most of this art that's in here was done when I didn't have a television, because I didn't have a television. So there's really nothing else to do. Like, I'm gonna paint or I'm gonna make a beat or something. I'm not gonna be watching. And I don't think I had anything like to even watch a DVD or nothing.
And you know what's crazy? I like that you bring that up and then even ask the question on, you know, how they connect, because it really just goes back to my point of, you know, unplugging. Because I feel like they try to create the whole concept of, you know, the metaverse, right? Talking about, oh, this, you know, through a headset, you see this, that, and the other. We are the metaverse. The moment you get rid of a TV, phone time, get outside, go in nature, be, you know, regular, like before we had all this societal bullshit, like, you see things differently, you feel differently, you connect with this world differently.
Well, there's people doing that. You know, it's a misnomer that everybody's plugged in and everybody just on their phone all the time. There's a ton of people that are, for sure, because it's a very addictive thing. It's like a self-reflection at all times. You can look at what you want to look at. You can take a picture of yourself. All day, you know. So there's a lot of people that are indeed doing that. But there's a lot of people that ain't doing that. They just ain't advertising it. They're not like, come over here. We're not doing that. They're like just not doing that together. And they're like trying to keep that as to themselves as possible. There's a lot of people that are having a beautiful day today, man, with no cell phone. They might have a horse, or they might have a barn, or they might have a freaking field, or a hill that they rode down, or just a open space, or just a place to be loud, and they're enjoying that. And they're not even thinking about any of this discussion that they don't feel like they're missing anything. Because if you've ever gone camping, you will get that. You will have that feeling for a minute, for a couple of days. Now, I've been camping a few times. I had a person I was dating take me on a camping trip, and I was like a nut. I mean, I went to an environmental school in 6th grade, so I knew some basics of being outside, but not really. I mean, I was 6th grade. That was years and years ago.
Yeah.
But this woman invited me to go camping with her, and I was like, yeah, heck yeah, let's see what that's about. And man, being out there, dude, just for like 3 days was amazing, man. Like amazing, life-changing vibe. Because there was no mirrors. We didn't have a mirror, so you didn't see yourself for like 3 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just not even looking at your face for 3 days. And not even being concerned with how you might look.
You know, that's crazy.
You know?
Because people are, I feel like the greatest level of self-awareness comes from people's own reflections. And where we're at in today's time, people are very much concerned about how they look.
Yeah.
To where we're talking about now a movement of people altering themselves.
Right.
In so many different capacities.
Yeah.
People are altering themselves.
Yeah.
Even in the terms of social media, because you think about it, a lot of people on social media, are they who they are off camera? Are they that same person when they're, not on camera or by themselves? Like, you gotta think about it. This goes way deeper than what we, make it out to be in some sense.
Yeah, but it goes with the whole camping experience. Like, if you get those same people out in nature, they might lose some of those thoughts, or those thoughts might not be as emphasized.
Mm-hmm.
If a person's never done that, it's hard to describe it to them. You have to feel that, like, vulnerability and freedom that go together with a camping outdoor experience. It's something everyone needs to just feel for themselves.
Agreed.
It's different for everybody, but there's a lot of similarity to it because you're just out in nature. You don't know how things. I mean, you can check the weather report, but you don't know how shit's gonna roll. It's cold, it's warm, you're outside, you gotta cook, you gotta forage, you gotta make a fire. Basic shit, basic human existence shit that has to be done for humans to survive. You gotta have some water. It's not like here in the loft where you can just go in there and open the refrigerator. I mean, basic existent type stuff, but it's just
breaking it down ground for ground.
It's just good to do,
Yeah, we definitely breaking it down ground for ground with this topic, like looking at what a modern day creative looks like.
That there really is no point when it comes to this creative thing. We can talk about that off camera. It's like the bounce is like, if you take a rubber ball in space, one of those super rubber balls back in the day, they used to call them super ball.
Yeah.
And it's this hard, compact rubber ball, and you bounce it once, and that shit, like, if you bounce it in this room right now, it would bounce for like 5 minutes. But where would it go? It would just be all over the place. I mean, it would be based on some physics, like the angles of the walls would determine where it went. But we wouldn't be able to guess. We'd be like, man, I threw it right here, and that shit ended up way over there.
I think that honestly might even be a great tool for creators, because I feel like, me personally, like, and I'm gonna kind of like just throw it into like the next portion where I just want to talk about like the whole approach with dealing with your day-to-day like things as a creator, like depression, anxiety, things like that, like mindfulness and meditation. Like, how do you approach that? Like, do you throw some fasting in there? Like how is your approach to dealing with the blunder of your depression and anxiety? How do you get yourself back on track to cash, to where you're feeling it?
Well, man, me and a friend of mine started this morning yoga program, and that was huge. Right. That was huge because we were like accountability partners. Because I wanted to do it mentally. I know it's good for me. I know I need, with my spinal injury and spasticity, I know it's really good that I stretch every day and I feel better physically, mentally. But I'd much rather make a beat. I'd much rather maybe sketch something or watch Netflix or some shit. So it's easy to blow it off. But him being an accountability partner, because he wanted to lose weight, he desperately wanted to lose some pounds and get some mobility back.
Yeah.
And so he showed up like, man, we went like 6 days hard. Like, timed it, started with 45 minutes, and we were doing, Pat Metheny was our background music.
Okay.
So it wasn't officially yoga, because I think yoga you should do in silence or in just sounds of nature for the most part. I'm not sure. I don't know how that works. When
I do it, I do hemisync frequencies, or I'll do some sort of like meditation related sound. So that way, my mind, I go into like a trance, and it's really that oneness. Because I feel like when you're doing these different things, you're seeking that oneness within self. So that way, you're centering yourself before you get ready to go out into the world.
So ours is way diminished from that
But you can do it.
Expectancy. We was really just trying to stretch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we were trying to like stretch. But we called it yoga because we played music and we chilled.
Yeah.
We didn't talk a lot. You know, we were like, how you doing, everybody? It was just kind of like, you know, pretty much just like you stretch, I stretch. For 45 minutes, we're gonna time it.
Yeah.
And then we're done. But it has some yoga elements. Because Pat Metheny is a very ethereal, like meditative artist. You know, he plays guitar and his shit is some of his stuff is real chill. But so we did it a few days in a row, and man, I was just starting to get some results. Like I could feel like I can do this, and you know, take a shower, you can feel certain things. Oh, I can lift my leg up this much higher. Just that little bit lets you know, oh, that must be from the stretching, man, because I got a little more flexibility. And then we just fell off. We just fell off, man. We cliffed it. We went just straight like, damn, we didn't do it. Another day, we didn't do it. Damn, we didn't do it again. Now it's been like 2 weeks we ain't did it. You know, so it's like, I'm back to ground zero. I'm below ground zero. I gotta step back up. So I was making progress on that meditative aspect of being a creative. I was doing really well. I was feeling it. It was feeling good. It was feeling like an accomplishment. We would do a smoothie afterwards with some good ingredients. And
that definitely
it was a fellowship too, because like I said, it was accountability, and he had to go straight to work. He'd come in and we'd stretch, and then he put his outfit, he put his work gear on, and he had to dress nice for his job. So he had like some Sconey shoes on, you know, smooth, like nice work all week, and then he'd be out. And I'd start my day with that, and we were going at like 9 a.m. was our start time.
Okay.
We usually wouldn't start till like 9:30, but that was our, you know, presumptive start time. So yeah, it was dope, but I fell off. So I'm back to like -3 on that. I gotta get back into it.
I actually wanted to chime in on that just to say I do have this great read that kind of helped me in a sense, and it's one of those books where it's like a manual in a sense. So it's like you read it, but then you got to read it again. You know, it's called The Atomic Habit, though. And in a sense, it gives you different perspectives on how to engage and create good habits and disengage.
What's the name of it?
The Atomic Habit.
Atomic Habit?
The Atomic Habit.
Oh,
yep, and it's has a white cover, and like I think gold lettering or something like that. But yeah, I highly recommend it book because it will give you a perspective. And that's what a lot of these books that I've been reading have been giving me. Like I also read The Awakening of the Intelligence, which I highly recommend that, and The Alchemist. For any creative, I especially recommend The Alchemist because it's basically explaining someone on a voyage to obtain their own personal legend. You know, everyone has, as a creative, you have your own personal legend. You know, you have something that you're trying to obtain, some big place you see yourself in, but it's like, how do you get to it? That's your story of how you got to it. That's your story to how you got to this capacity of art. You know, no one was there essentially from day one. You were there from day one. A lot of different people came around since then, and you established a base. But I mean, everything was off of your blood, sweat, and tears, and your passion. So, you know, as a creative, you know, when you're thinking about like depression and anxiety, do you feel like you harness the energy from those situations and use it in your art? And that's why you got to this point?
Well, I think for me, it's a constant, you know. I had a tragic childhood injury at a young age. So I went from like being a really active, sports-minded kid. I had more passion for sports than I had for art, that's for sure. I was always in the street playing football. I was always playing basketball, baseball, anything competitive. I just wanted to be good at anything physical. So to have that just like not instantly taken, but over a pretty small amount of time taken from me, that whole depressive part of that is a constant for me. So I don't even know how to even translate that narrative of how I cope with that. Like I have to cope. I've had to cope with that from the first day. From the first day that I accepted it. It took me a while to accept it because I was like, oh, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. This shit's gonna be back to normal. And I went like that for a while. You know, from the time I was probably 9 till I was like maybe 12. Every morning I was like, oh nah, that shit was like an error. You know, that shit's gonna reverse itself. I'll be back to doing what I was doing.
Yep.
After 3 or 4 years, and you get mature, your mind's maturing, you get older and learning about how life goes. I was like, shit, I don't think this shit's gonna change, man. I think I'm gonna have to roll this shit out like this. Different than what it was before. So then that was just written into my narrative, you know. So that's a constant with me. I mean, I took some free therapy and very free bed. I went in for physical therapy, but then they were like, you know, if you want to take some mental therapy, it's available. It's part of the same ticket. I was like, oh shit, free, I'll take it. I was always curious, like, what would it be? Like, what would be my, I didn't really go for help, I don't think. I went more just to see what they would say. Like,
Counseling wise?
Yeah, counseling. I was just like, what would be your analysis of me? I just wanted to know what a professional would say about my state of mind.
You know, and I also want to chime in on that because I recently just started back going to counseling. I just had my first, I had my intake this past Friday. And it's like, where I'm at right now, I had to acknowledge as a creative where I'm at mentally. And it's like a lot of my bulges that I've had to even, you know, jump to certain, you know, levels to where I'm at even now is all based on me dealing with my anger and my depression. You know, those moments are what tried me to say, you know, instead of being all sulking around, I'm gonna still get at least 3 things done. I might have had a whole schedule, you know, but if I had at least 3 things, I'm like, okay, today was a decent day. Outside of that, you know, I got maybe a few other things that I'm happy about besides, you know, obviously waking up to get another chance to do this. But it's like you kind of just hold on to those moments. You know, those small W's lead up to that big one. So we gotta, that's just the mindset I get into where I just like hold on to it.
But you know, measuring yourself by productivity can be dangerous too though.
Yeah.
You know, if you start to measure your days by how productive you were, that can be kind of a mental trap in itself.
I think that's how I got to counseling. Because honestly, that's where I'm at right now. Like, I had a moment like just recently where I'm thinking like, you know, it's so much going on right now. Like, I don't know. Like, when you get in that moment as a creator where you're like, I don't know, it can be toxic.
Well, I was listening to a podcast. I was listening to Dave Chappelle's podcast with Mos Def and Talib Kweli, the Midnight Miracle, with this really nice podcast. And Mos Def said some shit like that. He was like, man, I don't even want to do shit. I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, man, I don't want to do shit. He's like, I'm lazy as fuck. I mean, this Yasin Bey, Mos Def. I mean, he's dope, a dope writer. Yeah, ain't no telling what he can do. He can do a lot of shit. Actor, but for him to just blurt that out was hilarious, man. Because they were talking all these high-minded ideas of what you gonna do with this, or how you can take this opportunity. Yeah, and he was like, man, I don't even want to do shit. Like I don't have no problem not doing nothing. And it was just a real cool thing for him to express from someone who like traveled the world to just be like, man, sometimes I don't even want to do shit, man. Yeah. Period.
And I feel like the more times you get to experience those moments, it's like it's uplifting because you really gotta lift yourself out of a funk. Yeah. When I have my funk.
But is that a funk? That's my whole point. You know, like, is it a funk to wake up and not want to do shit? Is that, there's a Chinese proverb that says if a man spent all of his days studying a lotus flower or the lines of a lotus flower, it was a life well lived. You know, it's like a proverb I read. Like, if he spent his whole life just looking at this flower, it was a life well lived. So I mean, really, if you get up and do shit, you take that as an L?
No, I wouldn't say that because I feel like right now in my life, I really got a better understanding of who I am as an individual with having my time to just like be in my own space and just grow. So like where I'm at right now, I kind of like just live on a schedule where I'm like, I kind of got my day planned as the XYZ has to be done to get to this point. So it's like I take those small little steps as I deal with the rest of the stuff in my life, from family, you know, this, that, you know, just really just balance it all out. Right. So that way I can make the most of everything going on. Because I feel like any point in your life where we allow anything to like just overthrow how we, feel when we in that state of passion as a creative. It's like it becomes smothering, and you got to get out of that smothering situation. Otherwise, you just engulf the negativity, and it's hard to get out that funk. So that's why I feel like I went back to counseling, because it's like I want to get a different perspective, like you said, to see. I just want to politic with somebody that's an unbiased individual. They don't know anything about me outside of what we discussed.
Well, I went in as a real cynic, like I said, it was free, and I just wanted to trip on somebody else tripping on me. And it was when Michael Jackson had just died.
Okay.
So I was going through it with that. I took the Michael death real hard. So I was like, I just wanted to soundboard that off somebody, a professional.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to go and be like, okay, you talk about depression. I was like, I was depressed over Mike. Because he was the #1 artist in the world. Like, man, I'm an artist. And that's the North Star for art. Like, as far as just being dope and always with some new shit and some amazing shit, and then using other people's amazing shit to make more amazing shit, he was just the king of that shit. And so when knowing that was gone from Earth and that we're not gonna get another one in my lifetime, I was like,
you see how people make the comparison with Chris Brown? What do you think?
Oh, come on, man.
I know.
Come on, dude. Don't even say that, man. Come on, man.
I know.
You gotta at least say man, you got
people know it out there. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you got
in today's society.
I don't know no one who else you can't say. You can't say him, man. I mean, no disrespect. I mean, he got my niece loves him. I painted him because my niece loved him so much. Yeah. She was like 12 years old. I did a portrait of him. It's a dope portrait. And he can dance his ass off. Don't get me wrong. But come on, man. I'm talking about Michael freaking Jackson.
Yeah, I know. But it's like,
so I took this counseling based on this tragic loss that I felt, So that was, and I was just being real cynical about the whole process of what it is and what you do. And then I went in and took my 12 free sessions, 8 free sessions, whatever it was.
Do you think that had like any impact on your life and where you're at right now? Anything that you took from there?
No, man. She didn't really. No, man. No, I didn't. I kind of counseled her. I did. I think so. I can't get specific. Yeah. Somebody can check the records. It's a medical record, and I don't want to mess this lady's career up. I don't want to mess her career up for real. Yeah. Because some shit that was some, I don't know. Ethically, I don't know if this shit even been allowed to happen. But yeah, I was more therapeutic for her, dude. I was on some different shit back then, Yeah. I was going in for physical therapy. I was like, I want to stay on my feet. It was the first time in life I went from no cane. I went from normal to a limp, to a cane, to 2 canes, to now, if I really got to go a distance, I'll stand a walker. So this was a progression, a deterioration of my mobility. So, but at this point, this is probably 10, 15 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, I was going in there like on a mission, like how do I keep my mobility? I want to stay on my feet. And one of their main doctors, and I will shit on his name. I will shit on him. He's like their main spinal surgeon, like spinal expert, Dr. Wu or some shit. And he was like, I'll get you a chair. A chair, like, dude, I'm not trying to get in no wheelchair, dude. I'm up here trying to get like some new legs or some electrical charges or some robotic braces. I'm trying to get some shit to stay on my feet, yo. I'm not trying to get
yo, that is crazy.
So this is where this whole therapy thing came out of. That I was on a mission to improve my, because I still had visions of, plans of traveling the country or the planet to do the art thing and the music thing. And I was like, so in order to do that, I gotta be on my feet. I gotta be move around. So I was on that. So the mental therapy part was just a throw-in. They told me it was part of the package if I wanted it. And so I was very kind of sarcastic, but I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And so when I went, and I probably should have, in hindsight, took it a little, not take it serious. I should have been more like receptive to help. But I was more like just going in there just blurting out whatever and kicking it, learning, talking to the doctor about her life and her situation. I'm looking at her office and I'm seeing little shit in her office that's triggering me about certain things about her. Like, what the fuck is this about? And I could get specific, but I don't want to throw her out there. But it was a little thing, and then she would be tripping out that I noticed that. Like, really? Oh, yeah. And then we would just be having, and maybe that was part of her style. So maybe I was helping. She's a psychologist, so she probably knew the whole time what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because she went to school to learn. Like, anybody to walk in here, she should be able to analyze. Yeah. Based on what they say to her. So maybe I'm just ego tripping on the fact that I thought I was doing some shit. No, I felt like I was doing some shit.
The ironic part, that's where the dual moment comes in. Yeah. Because there's duality in everything. You could have essentially been teaching because we each have a perspective, which in respect, she could take it or leave it. And if she took it, that's because of the energetic, the aura. Yeah. So it's like, you were vibing, she was vibing. So it's like, she was really going to be receptive to what you had to say. Yeah. And respect it.
Well, I don't recommend using my approach with your therapist. I was on some wild, I was wilding out. And at the end, I just asked her, I was like, it was our last day. It was our last day, and we saying our goodbyes and shit.
Vito was spitting the game, breaking it down.
No, she wasn't even spittable. She wasn't even spittable like that. It was no romantic overtone whatsoever. It wasn't nothing like that. It was strictly psychological.
Suave. It was strictly suaving into her mind.
It was strictly psychological. Boy, it wasn't nothing romantic.
All right, so
on the last day,
no romantic capacity.
No romantic capacity whatsoever. But on the last day, we were saying our goodbyes, right? I'm about to, grab my jacket and head on out. But I'm like, nothing's really been said or done. So I'm like, what is it? What's my deal? I just asked her, what's my analysis? What's my outcome? What is it? What am I? I just wanted to know. Like, on the scale of sanity, where do I fit from 1 to 100? Where am I at in sanity? And I just asked her straight up, and she paused for a minute because she had wrote some shit down. I'm like, over the length of the session, she had wrote shit down. I'm like, you wrote shit down about me? I'm in a file. There's a file of mine. So I wanted to know.
So I want to know. Top secret. That's she can tell you.
My shit is top
slap your ass in top secret.
I know my shit is in top secret at Mary Free Bed somewhere. But I asked her, I was like, but I feel it's my right as a patient to know. Don't you think?
But they can tell you what they want to tell you, honestly. Right. But they hold the power.
But don't have the right to ask, like, what is my diagnosis? Yeah. And she paused and she was like, you're normal, you're cool, you're okay. And she was like, she said, I was under my circumstances or my history that I shared with her and my response to life, she said I was normal. So I feel, that made me, that confirmed my normality.
And I feel the same way. Like, when I went to counseling, I feel like that was where, because when you get to go to counseling, you're talking about psychology. You're now getting a chance to express yourself openly, and the way you view life, your perspective, has the ability to be heard. And you felt heard.
By a professional.
Exactly. So then it's like you kind of just think about it as, okay, this is a big release. This is a big release of what, I don't want to have on my chest anymore. So this is my thing. Why can't we use family though? So what does your family think about you being a creative in the times when you're depressed? Like, and then how do society, friends and associates act in that respect?
Wow, that's a great question. And I can't stand when people tell a person to ask them a question. Great question, that's my thing. I just did it. I watched the other people do it. Why would you ever do that? And I just did it. That's like, great question. Come on, man. That's almost disrespectful. Great question. Like, you supposed to ask a dumbass question. So
but I feel like, but I also feel like, some questions are good questions. It's like, how deep are you really trying to get? I feel
but the person ain't got to say it. They ain't got to tell you. Great question.
No, but it's like, I feel like in a sense it's like saying high five. Because
Yeah.
like me, honestly, or dap.
Okay, that is dapple.
You know, dap.
That's a dapple question. That was a dapple question. How my family? You know, that's a really good question. My family, like, this is an oasis for my family. You know, I try to create an
Oasis in general.
Yeah, like, I like my family to come over and whatever they're going through, like, shoot, we at Uncle Vito's now. It's gonna be some art.
Mm-hmm.
It might smell like a little weed, and there's gonna be some music playing, a dope playlist of all the shit. You know, that was the trade-off for me. You know, not being married, not having any kids. The trade-off is that I do get to do this shit constantly. Like, I don't have to stop really for anything. But I can always just be doing what I'm doing.
You know, in my counseling session, my counselor, and this is gonna go off a little bit, and I want to get back into family because I got some stuff to say too. But like, my counselor was talking about how the greats, how they live. Something that they had in common is that when you strive to be great in your lane, like, you might have that lifestyle of being like singular because you're so misunderstood. Like family, like, and this actually goes into what I'm gonna say, but family and the people around you, they will misunderstand your passion and your drive for you being selfish when all you're doing is really just taking the necessary steps to get to full capacity.
Oh, yeah.
It takes so many steps to get there. Like you, how long have you been doing this? Art, just in general?
Like, literally?
Yeah, like literally.
Since I was probably 9 years old.
Okay, and how old are you now?
49 years.
There you go. And it's like, you can feel the energy of 49 years. It's been progressive, but you had to build to get to that. So family, it's like, unless you're in that lane, you can't really feel what Vito feel every time. So they don't, like, how do they respond to your moments when you like not really feeling it? How do they respond to those moments? Like, are they supportive, or do you feel like there's areas where things can be worked on?
I don't really go around my family when I'm not feeling it.
Okay, so you're more like
I'm like a, you know, like an elder, like an elder uncle. So I can't really afford to not be feeling it.
Gotcha.
As a black elder uncle, I don't get to not feeling it moments. No, you know, I got nephews, little great nephews coming up that need some understanding as they get older. I don't see them that much. So when I do, I want it to be as impactful as, like, my uncles were to me. I saw my uncles a lot. We all lived in one house for a while. So I saw them every day.
Yeah.
And they were like impactful on everything for me as a young boy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from just washing your ass to freaking putting some oil in your freaking hair, to being happy with who you are, like, you know, dark skin jokes gonna penetrate, you know. My uncle was sure, like, that shit ain't penetrating you, dude. And it never did. Even when it would happen, like, motherfucker, I don't care about that shit. You know? So I want to be just as impactful to them. So I don't really get, you know, all that what this podcast is about, the whole like modern creative dealing with, you know, anxiety, depression, and whatnot. That time has to be spent alone.
Agreed.
I mean, it for me, I would hope maybe it won't always be that way. At some point, you have to let go of the wheel. But right now, I gotta hold the wheel, man. I have to, like, because they're all impressionable. I got so many nephews right now, man, that are impressionable, and nieces that are impressionable, man. Like, from ages 30 down to like 2, and they're all dealing with everything we're talking about. And some of them might want to be like more on the creative end. I don't know yet. I'm trying to figure that out. Like, are you gonna follow a creative route, or are you gonna just go to like a so-called regular job, politics, or whatever? I don't know what you want to do. But there's none of them right now have like a standout, I'm about to do what my uncle did. And I was like that with my uncle James. He was an artist too when I was a kid.
Okay.
And he's still an artist. But I latched on, once I knew I couldn't do sports, I latched on to his shit like hook, line, and sinker, you know? Like I'm doing whatever that style he's doing, that's what I'm doing. From going to college and taking art in college to having a studio to, you know, painting your girlfriend's naked, all that. I was like, that's all good. It all sounds good to me.
Indeed.
And so, you know, yeah, I don't really have a space for that when I'm not feeling it right now. Around with my family, no.
Okay.
That's not even in the.
So, what would you say are some family activities that you like to do as a creative with your family? Like, how do you spend time with them? Like, when they come over, like, what do y'all do? You typically like this?
Well, they know it's an art space, and they know it's a very non-restrictive art space. So when they come over here, they know they can just do whatever. They know I don't care if I'm spilling paint, or when they play the instruments, I don't care if they turn them up too loud. I let them figure it out. Like, that shit sounds terrible. It's too loud. You know, turn that shit down.
Yeah.
And you know, they're like, oh, it'll sound better. You know, so they just know that they can be like that here. So that's the beautiful part. That's why I pay the rent. You know, so they will have that. They will always have that. As long as I'm around, they will have that space in life where I can go to my uncles and whatever, make a beat.
Freedom of expression.
Yeah, make a beat, chill. I don't have video games.
This is a video game being here.
Yeah, I purposely don't let them come over and do the thing that they always do.
Yeah,
like, you're not gonna come to my house
express
and
yourself.
play PS5.
Yeah,
Even though I want to see it, it'd be fun. Though.
Yeah.
I might have a special day where they can do it, but normally they know they ain't no PS5. There's nothing. I don't have a TV on when they're here. Television on when they're here. So to them, it's just a creative space, a place to just like have fun and get wild. And you know, young people, their inhibitions break down the longer they stay. So when they first get here, they're all into the instruction. Like, there's some instruction, like, you know, you got to do this. Here's your paints, blah blah blah. Don't mix this with this. But as the day goes on, they get wilder and wilder. You know, they start wilding out. They're like kids. Like, oh shit, I wonder, can I do a flip up in this joint? I wonder, do I have room to do a running flip? Let's see. You know, so it's just a place for them to do that. Just come and learn their boundaries.
Definitely. And I can say, me as a creative, like something I like to do with family is just literally go to, like, you know, maybe my mom's, my grandma's, get a chance to see my sisters, my nieces, you know. My brother, he's in the military, he's not here, so it's like his life is like going at a different pace. So it's like, you know, each one of my siblings, you know, it's 5 of us, but our lives are going at a different pace. So it's like I try to catch up with everybody. It was like my schedule is typically, you know, go to work, and then from work, you know, take time out to either, you know, network, study, you know, work in some capacity, you know, with the business. And it's like that's just been my ongoing cycle since I started this process about, I want to say, a little bit over a year ago.
Yeah.
It was like when I really started taking this stuff serious and saying, you know, I'm gonna be intentional about what I see, my vision. I'm be intentional about taking them little steps to be able to get to the end of where I'm going with this. You know, and I feel like as a creative, you know, we come together as a collective and we make art, you know, that's when we tend to be very impactful, because, you know, society feels it, because it's like this energy of these portraits, these are all individual experiences. So that's why that energy feel like that in here, because you feel each experience. You know, and as we come together, we create that big experience for so many people that's gonna feel that energy. And that's what it's all about.
It's your second episode of your podcast series. It's my first podcast. So, like we had talked in the precursor to this, when we were just kind of setting up the idea, it's the doing it, man. You know, the fact that you showed up got me out of my morning cobwebs. You know, snapped me to it, because I would not have done it. I would have done something else. You know, I might have just whatever made more beats. But the fact that we documented it and talked about it, and it was a real honest conversation. So I appreciate your effort to put it together.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like that's where we're gonna go ahead and answer that, everybody. So once again, I'm the host, A1 Reek, on the Smokers Daily podcast.
Smokers Daily.
Smokers Daily. And we interviewed Vito, and got a chance to talk about, modern day creatives. So stay tuned for our next episode, which will be on YouTube. Follow my YouTube at Smokers Daily Podcast. All right, see y'all next time.